In this episode of the Tech John, we discussed the TikTok ban getting another extension, Bluesky going dark in Mississippi, the possible Gemini-powered Siri, and AI firings, rehirings, and layoffs. We got all this and more for you in episode 192 of the Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. Rick Ross's Kiss. I don't know if y'all saw this or didn't see this, but maybe a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if he was debuting is the right word, but I guess he has a new girlfriend, and they were at an event I'm assuming there was a step and repeat behind them. I think maybe, I don't remember, but they showed up at some place publicly and they went for the kiss, and Rick Ross leaned in for the kiss, and his girlfriend said,
not the lean back.
The lean back. And it was, secondhand embarrassment.
The cringe.
Yeah, I mean, she did the lean back.
Wow. She was like, come on now. You know we ain't about that life. Stop playing.
He's like, I'm not about to lose my VP of HR.
And just Rick Ross aside, if he wasn't Rick Ross and he was just her boyfriend or whatever, you go and they lean back.
Somebody who was under the impression he was her boyfriend.
Or you cross over the boundaries. We talked about this. You trying to show out in public.
Right. You thought I wasn't going to check you on this red carpet, but you don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to that. Maybe after that, I don't follow Rick Ross news like that. So maybe something happened to where it was a misunderstanding and he got what he was looking for after that. I don't know. I don't care enough to follow the story. I just know I was rolling through my social media and was like, ouch.
Well, let me just say this about Rick Ross. Earlier this summer, he performed here in Columbus, Ohio with the Ohio Symphony. And my daughter and one of her girlfriends actually went to go see it. And she said it was excellent. So I can't tell you what songs he sung. I'm not up on Rick Ross like that, but she said it was a great conference, just to see, him performing with the symphony. So we'll give you that little bit of love, Rick Ross, because like that's one of them things it's hard to recover from, because like people is you're going to be a meme, bro. You're going to be mean.
I feel like rappers are doing that now, because I just saw Nas with the Philadelphia Orchestra doing all of Illmatic with the orchestra accompaniment, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, they did with Jeezy down here in Atlanta.
I love to see it. Listen,
that's the thing. But y'all, we have been doing something for the past couple of weeks because we are, this is episode 192. We're coming up on episode 200. We have just celebrated our 4th year. Technically, episode 0 came out a year ago last week. We still have another week or two to get to actually episode 1, because we had a little bit of I think it was like 4 weeks in between 0 and 1. But we're coming up on episode 200. So what we've been doing is shouting out our longtime patrons. And we started off with our Founding 50. And let me tell you, when I say the folks who are supporting us appreciate when we say their names out, it's like they appreciate us to the point to where we're getting messages in Patreon. We're getting messages on Discord. Folks want to make sure, hey, I just want to make sure, am I still a Founding 50? It's like, yeah, you still a Founding 50. You've been there since the beginning. But this week we want to keep on that, tradition that we'll be doing for at least another 7 more weeks. And let's see, who do we have this week? We have Tom Keekley, Gabrielle Halley, Charlie Delavita, Mark Fleming, and Brandon Sudat. So these are all Founding 50 members who have been there since the September that we started. And once again, y'all appreciate us doing the shout outs. We appreciate you supporting the show in the way that you do, that allows us to bring it to you every week, like we have been for the last 4 years. So once again, Tom Keekley, Gabrielle Halley, Charlie Delvita, Mark Fleming, and Brandon Sadat.
I will say, though, I really want to appeal to all of our supporters, because being a patron gets you access to this live stream. We stream every Monday, or most Monday nights. I would love to see more people in the live stream, because we got our regulars that we chop it up with, back and forth. And but I would love to get even more of a robust conversation going as we're recording. So if you're listening, come check us out on Monday nights at 6:00 and hang out with us in the live stream and chop it up.
Absolutely. But that being said, we are a tech show. So let's jump into the tech. And this what is it's just comical to me at this point because the president has decided that he's going to extend the TikTok ban again. Now, folks who don't know, this will be the fourth time, the fourth extension. So basically, every 3 months, he gives another 90-day reprieve. And the way that he said it this time, I'm just going to keep extending it until I get what I want. And the interesting thing is that the very first time he did the extension, that was actually written into the bill. There was a 90-day reprieve, which is what he exercised the first time, the day after he got in office. But he's now done this an additional 3 times. And so I'm just wondering, it's like, how is this legal? And it isn't. But no one is fighting it is the thing. No one is fighting. I think what Congress did was they actually passed a bipartisan bill because this was largely Republicans and Democrats. It was a lot of both parties that passed this, and they now have buyer's remorse. But the fix to me seems like it should be y'all need to go write another law or whatever. But I want to get y'all's takes on this. Will we ever see this ban actually be implemented again under this presidency? Number one, and number two, will we actually see ByteDance be bought by any American entity?
I doubt it on both counts. It's funny though how all of a sudden all of the national security and privacy concerns that caused the ban to go into effect in the first place are now highly overrated in this current administration. So it's like, so subjective. I think it was a huge overreach in the first place and a absurdly reactionary response to whatever perceived threat that Congress felt they're presented with TikTok and ByteDance to try to ban it unilaterally. I mean, that was just a bad idea out the gate, bipartisan or not. It was just a bad idea from people that don't really understand enough about how these platforms work and how important they are to the American public in their livelihood. So, I think Stevie Wonder saw this coming. I don't think the ban is ever going to take effect. And to your point, I think we're just the administration, not we, because we ain't getting no money, but the administration is just waiting to figure out how they can capitalize
And that's what I was
off of
going
the platform. Yeah.
And that's what I was going to mention. Probably the reason why there hasn't been any serious conversations as far as acquiring ByteDance on the US side is because we've seen what Trump and them did to Intel. And any company is like, nah,
And
nah,
Nvidia and
we don't
AMD
want,
and
nope,
all of
nope.
them.
I'm pretty sure the TikTok deals failed, or any meaningful conversation around TikTok deals failed, is because Trump and them tried to pull that same thing on whoever was a potential buyer for TikTok, and TikTok's like, you wanted to do what? And you want
Nah,
this
son.
much stakes? Nah, we're cool. We're
Yeah.
cool.
And like I said, we're in a weird situation because I can't say that the TikTok ban is the only law that the federal government has decided not to enforce. And there are states that decide that, like, there's still laws that don't allow, mixed race marriages in some states. They just choose not to enforce those laws. They haven't gone and changed the laws on the books, which is, a whole nother story, a whole nother episode. But those laws still exist. And there's a whole bunch of other laws. Technically marijuana is still illegal. We just choose not to enforce it federally, for personal use at this point. It's like, they could be arresting a whole lot of folks if they chose to do so. They're just choosing not to. And that's kind of what's happening here. But this is one where Congress probably should have thought a little bit longer and harder about this and maybe come up with a different solution, a different situation that they could have been in. But I think the problem that they have now because, some folks have said, well, Congress could just easily go back and change this. The problem is that there are some folks who are really 10 toes down on this. They really do feel that this is a security issue, and they don't know that they would have the votes to actually create another law to overturn this. So let's just let this ride out while this dude is just doing it with his pen. We just ain't gonna complain about it at least for another 3.5 years.
And no administration wants to be an administration to actually ban TikTok.
Right. Right.
You don't want that on your things to deal with.
On your record.
It literally went into effect on Biden's last day. I mean, his last day. It's like, hey, my problem no more. Y'all deal with it. So there's definitely that. but like I said, the Congress just doesn't have the appetite to do it. So we are in one of those weird areas, and I just wonder, is this being used by the administration to be a litmus test? What else can we do? What are the laws? Can we just say, nah, we're not going to enforce them right now? Because I think they could probably get away with they are getting away with a whole lot of stuff. I think that it's like, if they go for this, let's see if they go for that, because
Yeah,
Congress is not doing its job and being that check and balance to power.
yeah, but Americans don't understand law. We understand social media though. So all these laws and executive powers that the administration is doing, a lot of people's like, oh, it's out of my hands. We elected these people. They are politicians. We just gotta pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, or what, or just survive this next 4 years. You know what Americans is not doing? Not being able to access TikTok. So I think even with all the other crazy things that's going on, if you put social media in the forefront of the news, there are a lot more people, intelligent or not, that are going to pay attention to this way closer than any sort of interest rate hike or any sort of recession or any sort of tariff talk. That's just
Oh, it's
gibberish.
it's definitely going to get the clicks,
Mhm.
but the data supports that as well, right? There was a Pew Research Center survey that said 1/3 of Americans said they support a TikTok ban, but that is down from 50% back in March of 2023. Another third said they oppose a ban. The other third was undecided and weren't sure. So the numbers are actually supporting the idea that more people understand that this is not something that is good for the country, good for
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, good for content creators, and that it wasn't done in a way that's actually going to protect us in any real or significant way. So, you got to listen to the people as well. And I don't know necessarily, I ain't going to give the Trump administration that much credit, but, you know, in their continuing to kick this can down the road, they can also use the fact that the public also
Yeah,
is on the
Mhm.
side of,
keep it going.
keeping it going.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
No, the president is flat out telling you, TikTok helped me get elected. TikTok good.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
it's it is
The
that
White House just
transactional.
created their own account on the platform recently.
Yeah,
So there's now a White House, there was always a Trump account, but now the White House has their own account on there. So, it's
no,
just like, let
TikTok.
let's just stop talking about it. Okay? Like honestly, we can just stop talking about it at this point because we know that it's not going away anytime soon and we can just stop talking about it.
Well, that's
They don't have to announce every single time they extend the ban. Oh, it's extend.
Mhm.
But I think he wants to be perceived as the person that's saving
Keeping
it. Yeah,
TikTok
yeah.
alive.
I'm
Here's the thing,
I'm
though.
the one that's keeping y'all on this platform. I'm the one doing it. So every 3 months, let me make another announcement that the
Mhm.
ban's been extended.
Mhm.
Here's the other side of it, though. Every time he extends, to me, that just makes it less possible that what he wants to ultimately happen is for an American company to buy TikTok
I
and run
don't
it out
think
of here.
he cares either way,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
to be
that's
honest.
never.
he's either going to try to muscle the money out of ByteDance the same way he muscled it out of Nvidia, Intel, AMD, and the like. I think that will eventually happen. I don't know that we'll be privy to that deal. Honestly, I think these other deals are more prominent because some of these are American companies,
Yeah,
but
Mhm.
I don't think we're going to know about that deal, but I
good
can
point.
guarantee you a deal will be made for him to get his kickback because that seems to be all this administration cares
Mhm.
about.
Well, let's move on to this next story. Steph, you threw this in here about what Blue Sky is doing in Mississippi, and that seems to be not allowing anybody to access their platform from if you have an IP address from that state. So, what's going on with Blue Sky in the state of Mississippi?
So Bluesky has gone dark in Mississippi. People in Mississippi can no longer use the social media platform Bluesky. The company announced on Friday that it will be blocking all IP addresses within Mississippi for the foreseeable future in response to a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision that allows the state to enforce strict age verification for social media platforms. So there is a law that passed in Mississippi back in 2024, so last year,
Mhm.
hold on, let me find it. It was the Walker Montgomery Protecting Children Online Act, and it was enacted because there was unfortunately a young man named Walker Montgomery in Mississippi who was the victim of what's called sextortion. So he sent some pictures to somebody online. They started extorting him and blackmailing him, and they said they wanted $1,000 or they were going to release him to everybody.
Mhm.
And he got freaked out and unfortunately committed suicide. So this law was passed in response to that. It seems like he was a very popular athlete and
Mhm.
whatever in his town. And this is happening all across the board. Just sidebar, young teenage boys are the fastest growing victims of sextortion on the internet today. So have those conversations with your boys, all
Eh,
those girls that you think are asking you for those pictures are not girls. They're
Damn.
people in some, you know,
Ring.
corner in some cave
Mhm, mhm.
of a place, doing this to a whole lot of people. So
And to actually to counteract what you just said, Stephanie,
mhm,
I read a story to where this kid was getting sextorted as well. Come to
mhm.
find out, the coach is sextorting him. So
Listen.
I would counter your people sitting in the cave somewhere.
And right,
It's the
but it's
coach.
somebody.
It's
It,
some.
it can be
Hmm.
anybody. It can
Hmm.
be, and that's wild. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Crazy.
But it
Yeah.
can absolutely be anybody. And they are saying, and I know I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent, but I just want parents to understand. Athletes, high school and college athletes are more susceptible to this because they have so much to lose. Those ones that are the star quarterback and potentially getting scholarships and have these whole lives ahead of them in the sports arena. You make one mistake thinking this young girl is feeling you and wants these pics, and you send them pics back and forth, and then it turns out to be something like this, and then they look at everything they have to lose and that public humiliation, that public shame, and then they unfortunately could do something, a worst case scenario. So talk to your kids, parents. However, back to this story. So Mississippi has enacted this law, this Walker Montgomery Protecting Children Online Act, and it is pretty strict. I actually went and looked at the law. It requires age verification for every user on social media platforms. So not just minors. Everybody has to do some sort of age verification. They've left it up to each platform to figure out how to do it, but you have to do it. You need parental consent if you are under 18 to be on a social media platform. And there is a $10,000 fine per user if a platform is found in violation of this law. So Bluesky was just like, we can't do it. We can't afford it. We think that this is going to fundamentally change how people access our platform. It is going to require them to give up a lot of their privacy, and we have to track them now. And now we're going to have to track minors on our platforms. And this goes far beyond, any real child safety things. And they feel like it limits free speech and really impacts smaller platforms that don't necessarily have the manpower or the budgets to implement all of the things that are going to be necessary to comply with this law. So they was just like, with all of that, dog, I'm out. Like on Shark Tank, because of all those things, I'm out. And they've decided to, block users in Mississippi.
Now, here's what's the interesting thing about this, because we mentioned the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not upholding this law.
Right.
They're just saying we're not going to worry about it until it gets to us. So they're basically saying we're going to allow this law to exist as it is while you
Mhm.
go through the court system. And oh, by the way, it is very, very, very likely that this is unconstitutional. They won't go as far to say that we would overturn it because they're not going to pre-try before they actually try it. But they're
Right.
giving all the signals is that, yeah, this is probably unconstitutional. And it's kind of letting the state know, like, hey, before this gets to us, you better fix it or do something with it. But they decided that even though we think it's unconstitutional, we're going to allow it to go for right now. And the problem
Mhm.
with this is that it is, as you said, Steph, it is very, very restrictive. And it does kind of pick winners here because Bluesky is not in the case of Meta, a couple $1 trillion company.
Right.
In the case of Google, couple $1 trillion company. In the case of these big players, they're not that kind of big. So they're like, we cannot afford to every time this, comes up and we lose, it's $10,000 for every occurrence that this happens. That would put us out of business. So what do? We're just going to shutting down in Mississippi.
So is this in response to the overarching issue or question, who online should be age verifying? Is it the device that I'm holding, that I'm going to the website, or is the website's responsibility? Of
Well,
course,
the
the
law,
websites will say the phone
right.
manufacturers, because that's the case with, um, that's the case with porn industry right now. They're like, well, the device should be the thing that is verifying the age, and then somebody like Apple or a Google or Alphabet or whomever who manufactures devices say, no, it's the responsibility of the website, because the person is just using our phone or our device as a conduit to get to your site. So therefore
Mhm.
your site should be doing the age verifying, and nobody wants it because now they on the hook for
Right.
it.
Well, the law holds the platforms
Oh, do they?
accountable.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the law
Got it.
specifically calls out digital media platforms,
Okay.
and it makes a distinction between social media and news outlets,
Got it.
or there's
Okay.
a very it's only about a page and a half long, but it gets
It's
in
thought out.
very granular into
Mhm.
who's consider who falls under this law and who doesn't,
Got it.
and then what types of things you're supposed to be protecting it. But that's at the crux of the matter. Age verification doesn't get you protection from what unfortunately harmed this young man.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like that. It wouldn't have mattered if
It's
he
who's
was if
responsible. Is that
right.
what it
It
is?
it wouldn't have mattered. What needs to happen is, number one, we need better digital literacy and media literacy education in this
Mhm.
country,
Mhm.
period. Like, the fact that that's not a thing in every school in this country is criminal at this point, and negligent, absolutely negligent. um Number two, there needs to be a way to go after the people. And I know that is, kind of whack-a-mole and putting your finger in the dike and hoping that the whole dam don't burst, but there needs to be stricter consequences for the people who do these things, to set that example that this kind of thing won't be tolerated. I mean, I don't know what that looks like. I don't have an answer for that, but we need to do a better job of going after the people that actually perpetrate these types of things, because just simply saying you got to be 18 to be on this platform. Okay, so now I give you my ID or my passport or my social security number or a credit card number or whatever other highly personal information you need to verify. You verify me. I'm on the platform anyway. I can still be contacted. They're not actually doing
Mm-hmm.
the things that would help a student or a young person in this case, which, if you're looking at the laws in the UK, the privacy law that the UK just passed, they do things like allow parents to whitelist where their kids can go online and what kind of things they can look at. Or, if you're a minor, you can't participate in chat or DM on different platforms. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of thing that would actually help in these situations, not just some unilateral age verification that really doesn't solve the
And
problem.
that's so key, because that's the platform participating with you. Blue Sky
Right.
is like, we're just not going to participate. So here's what we do to cover ourselves. We don't allow you to access our platform if you are in Mississippi. Mississippi clearly didn't know that there are these things out there called virtual private networks that you can get for free and put on your
For free.
Android and iPhone, and get
Right.
to every website that you want to get to outside of a IP address from inside of the state of Mississippi. So the applications aren't illegal. It is the accessing of them from a IP address in Mississippi. So what do you do when you now have the same kids getting on the same platform in a situation where Blue Sky is not participating with you, Mississippi? They're not helping you
Mhm.
do this. They're just saying, hey, all we can do is say that if you're in Mississippi, you can't use it. But if you are in Louisiana, you can. If you're in Texas, you can. If you are literally in any of these other 49 states for right now, you can still use us. So there you go. So that's all people are going to do. It's like, being inside the state does not prevent you from accessing content that is not available inside the same state that you're in.
At all. And this was from the Wired piece. It says whether these laws are effective at protecting children is unclear. The use of virtual private networks in the UK spiked just after its age verification law went into effect as users deployed the tech to spoof their location. On platforms like Discord, people discovered they could use video game characters to trick face scans.
Mhm.
Furthermore, critics say that age verification laws intended to reduce harm to children can sometimes have the opposite effect by putting kids in greater danger of identity theft and privacy verification. So yeah, this ain't the way to do it, Mississippi. This I know you feel for that young man and the countless other children that continue to be victimized online, but this is not the answer. We need better education. And to your point, Rob, we need to work with these companies to talk about what would actually work as far as chat limiting chats and different things like that. But we need better education. We need parents to be better educated. We need schools to do a better job.
That's a
Because
tall order, Steph.
listen, I fight that good fight every day. Trust me, every single day. And it's just like, man, we really got to figure out a way to, put a little bit of this genie back in the bottle for real.
This has me thinking about, one of the point that you're making right now is that we need better education. We need parents to be better involved in this. And I'm just dismayed because school has just started up around the country. And there are a lot of school systems that have implemented that when you come to school, as soon as you hit the school grounds, you get one of those, like if you go to the comedy club and you got to put your phone in the bag and the bag locks, and you have to go, swipe it on the thing to get your phone out the bag. School systems are doing this because study after study after study after study has shown that students do better socially and academically when they do not have access to a smartphone, for the 6.5 to 7.5 hours that they are in school all day. And parents are freaking out. What if I need to call my kid, or what if my kid needs to call me? And I'm like, you do exist that children didn't have phones in school. Like Zach Morris was the only one who had had a phone in school in the 90s. He had that big brick phone. It's like, the most of humanity has gotten by without having cell phones in schools, up to this point.
And we could take it further. If we had better gun control laws in this country,
Girl,
that
you don't get out here with
that fear wouldn't be it wouldn't be a thing. It just would not be a thing for us to need these phones, because that's most parents' biggest fear, and that's what I hear all the time when I'm like, don't let your kid take their phone to school. You know what I mean? What if there's a school shooting? And we've allowed that to happen as well. So it's just like, we don't really have anybody to blame but ourselves for the situation we find ourselves in right now. But again, this is not the thing that's going to fix it.
No, not at all, because it's not fixing it. Bluesky just said we out
at all.
And I would imagine, will there be people who don't use Bluesky because of this? Absolutely. But the people who are really rocking with Bluesky that are in Mississippi that want to continue to use Bluesky in Mississippi, nothing slowed them down. They knew the law was coming. They knew when it was going to be implemented, and they already got their VPN set up.
But also, because I one of the, I think the Wire story, or maybe just in my Google search, the Mississippi Free Press. Now, I don't know how prominent media publication this is, but one of their reporters wrote a letter to the editor saying that this constitutes a significant blow for them, because as a lot of media sites migrated off of X, because they were just, fed up with Elon and all his antics, they went to Bluesky. So a lot of media outlets, especially smaller media outlets, have a real presence on Bluesky. They get their sources there. They're getting tips from there. They're sharing information. Exactly. So, a lot of this particular outlets, the Mississippi Free Press, a lot of their users are there and getting information and reading articles and all the rest of that stuff. And not everybody is going to know, just use a VPN or know how to set it up or feel comfortable putting something like that on their phone or their computer or paying for it if necessary. So this is actually going to have, some implications, some larger implications beyond just, folk can't chat back and forth on Bluesky and talk shit. You know what I mean? Like this has broader implications for, I think, a lot of different institutions.
Yeah, this is one we will continue to watch, because I think eventually it will probably get to the Supreme Court, who has already said this is very likely unconstitutional. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, here's a story that I thought was a little interesting. It's Apple is talking about potentially using Gemini, that is Google's AI assistant, to power the next version of Siri. And so, first one, I want to get your takes on that. But before I ask your takes, it just kind of, I've been saying this for a while. I don't think that people realize how far behind Apple is on its artificial intelligence. And this is kind of making it clear to me they're so far behind that they're not going to do it. They're going to just use Gemini or use Perplexity or use OpenAI and just have hey, put this on a tenant inside of our own data centers on top of Apple hardware and let us run it and just kind of go from there. But I wanted to get your take that they very well could be potentially using Gemini to power the next version of the Siri that's supposed to come out next year.
Well, first and foremost, well, no, I say first and foremost. I think it is. I think Apple is waiting to see what happens, and it mentions it in the story, waiting to see what happens with this monopoly that this judge is claimed to rule on, how much Google is going to have to pay out the pocket for this alleged search monopoly. For those who are Apple fans, know that Apple and Google have a pretty lucrative deal that could go up in flames as a result of this ruling. So what I think Apple is doing with talking with Google and potentially using them to power Siri, air quotes for those who are listening, is they need a plan B for this money they about to lose when this judge does not rule in favor of Google and the monopolies. So the plan B is, all right, well, we'll just use Gemini to power to power Siri or whatever the case may be, so we can try to recoup some of that money. Sure, Siri is not Apple is not as far along as some of these other makers, but that ain't stopping them from getting no money. So they look at this as more it equally as much, maybe even more so than them having Siri issues or having Apple Intelligence issues. This is a bankroll issue, and Apple is a publicly traded company, so is Google, so they want to keep that money rolling right in. So I think this is the plan B for that.
I think you might be right, Rob. I think I may be ready to concede that, and I don't know that I was holding on to any hope that Apple Intelligence was going to come out and change the world or whatever. But I definitely think they may be feeling like they don't need to reinvent the wheel, which would make a lot of sense. I mean, you got a few major companies out here that have already invested billions of dollars into AI. Like, why would we at this stage in the game feel the need to do something on our own? And like I said, reinvent the wheel basically. So I don't know. I think they are kind of looking at what their options are, because they don't necessarily have something viable to promote with the next, device release and all the rest of that. So I think they need something, and it still may be interim until they do get whatever Apple Intelligence is going to eventually be off the ground and running the way they would expect from an Apple product. But I think this is definitely something to fill that gap.
Yeah, and maybe they use it to replace OpenAI right now, because right now, again, Apple Intelligent or Apple has always said, well, we'll let our own intelligence do the on-device stuff, and for the off-device stuff, we'll let somebody else use it. In this case, is OpenAI, but they left that door open. I think very sneakily left that door open to say it could be whomever, Copilot, Gemini, Anthropic, Perplexity, whatever the case may be. So I think this may be also one of those things where it's like, all right, well, let's just cross Gemini off the list too, or not cross them off the list, check the box to make sure they're compatible with whichever one we go with. You go. I need to make sure you're ready.
Terrance, do you know how much Google pays Apple every year to be the default?
I think it's like $20 billion or something like
that. 20 billion.
You think Apple wants to lose that money because our AI is better, man. Please, we're gonna figure out how to get that money.
Yeah, 20 billion. So here's the thing: 20 billion for a company that controls 92% of search is done through Google. If that number is incorrect, I'm sorry, but I know it's a lot. It is the lion's share.
It's in the 90s.
It's Google controls search. But when it comes to AI, Gemini is soundly, usually in second place to OpenAI
Mhm.
as far as how good it is. Google has actually gotten a lot better with their AI. Gemini is pretty good in some places, actually topping OpenAI and Perplexity, but it's actually pretty good. But it is not 92% of the market. It is just a player in the market. You have OpenAI, you've got Perplexity, you've got Anthropic, you've got Microsoft.
Mhm.
There are significant other players in here that Apple could
Choices.
also go to. So if they were to say, well, hey, Google, we'll give you a discount. It only costs you $19 billion to put this, to put Gemini on here. Google would probably sold. I'm good with that. And then not have to worry about being considered the monopoly, at least not initially, because them becoming the default on the iPhone is not going to make OpenAI go away. It's not going to make these other companies go away, because people have already become accustomed to using them without having to use your phone to get to them. There's a lot of stuff you can do with these AI platforms on your phone, but where they're used most extensively is from your laptop, from a browser. That's not going to change just because a deal gets worked out. So I would not be shocked at all, Terrance, to your point. I think both things can be right. I think that, they are significantly behind, so far behind that they cannot legitimately catch up to these other players and release anything that would be of Apple quality, because what they can't do, they've already, people don't even realize Apple has already released Apple AI. It's already available to you. It's just not great. You both are iPhone
Don't
users.
nobody use it.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know that
Nobody
anyone's
uses that
using it. I
shit.
know everyone, they've installed Gemini, or they've installed Perplexity, or they installed, Chat GPT, or whatever the case. They've installed what they want to use on these devices, and it is not the Apple one that is built in. And then when I think about built-in AI on my Android device, I've got a Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. I use the Gemini that is built into it. It also has something, I think it's called Samsung AI or whatever. I've used it because, what's on it? Let me go see what this does. I've played with it, but it's not like I'm using the on device AI, because the in the cloud AI does so much more. It gives me so many answers. So I think that, one of the things I do know about iPhone users, they are definitely into their security. And one of the things that Apple touts is that we keep everything on device and all that kind of stuff.
And
But
that's causing a problem.
but
That
I
is
don't
the
think
that
people
is the
care.
Yeah, but you can't just disclose why. You can't say don't people care. I mean, Apple cares enough not to compromise their privacy for the sake of building something that is going to, use the cloud, which could have some problems or whatever the case may be that Apple
Mhm.
want to deal with. Now, yes, you're absolutely right. Um, Apple could be doing a better job. Well, they could be doing a way better job as far as competing with some of the other ones, but that is going to go against their privacy and security, and they
Mhm.
can't figure it out. And they don't have time. I think that's the problem. I think the problem is nobody's going to wait on Apple to figure it out. They've got 2 years, and year one is already gone. So at WWDC 26, Apple needs to figure out whatever they're going to do with their AI, or people are going to stop caring. And unfortunately, with Apple, that's what they ran on, because people ain't waiting. Like Rob said, people don't care, and they just want to use the AI that everybody else is using
Well,
and figure
and
out all that stuff later.
and then too, I think, when we're talking about quote unquote Apple intelligence, I think the bulk of it wasn't necessarily search. The bulk of it was what you could do on your phone.
Naturally,
Na
yeah, yeah,
naturally because
yeah.
of this
Mhm.
new feature.
And
So
they
you
didn't.
can write better emails, and you can, take pictures of stuff and say like it like and I don't necessarily know that that was promoted properly. Maybe I think
They could have did
the
a
the
better
buzz
job.
yeah the buzz was just all around search and
Mhm,
Siri and getting Siri to work better, but that
mhm,
that didn't, to me anyway, seem like it was the necessarily the feature, the main feature of what Apple was trying to promote with their
Mhm.
Apple Intelligence. I think that was just to make the phone work better,
mhm.
but with a bunch of things that nobody probably really uses,
No.
because you're not even aware that they're on there. because they didn't do a great job of selling that piece of it
And it pales in comparison to the things that people can do with
on
chatbots.
ChatGPT.
So they were
Exactly.
like, "Man, get out of here with
Exactly.
that."
So like
And Apple's like,
why would
"Wait."
I care
Apple's like,
about,
"Wait."
typing this
Right.
email and getting a suggestion when I can just throw the whole email in chat GPT and get a whole new email. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it was too little too late,
Mhm.
really. Even though it makes sense
Mhm.
that you should be able to do all these things on device and have it be seamless and private and all of that.
In
It makes
theory.
perfect sense in theory, but that's not the way people are using their devices anymore. So
And it's
they
gonna take
kind of
longer
they
to
kind of
figure
missed
out,
out.
and it's
Yeah.
gonna take longer to figure out,
Yeah.
and Apple does not have that time as it
They
relates
don't.
to public
They don't.
sentiment.
And the crazy part is it probably works better. The whatever the enhanced things that you can do on your iPhone because of Apple Intelligence are probably way better than the any alternative, but people are already,
Sold on how
accustomed
AI.
to the
Yep.
alternatives.
Yep.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They've
Yep.
already started using the alternative. So
Yep.
why would I switch it up now?
Mhm.
What is the saying? I'd rather be a third class driver over a first class walker. So I think that's kind of what it is. It's like, yeah,
Crazy.
you can circle this picture and take the background out like a champ on the iPhone, but you can make a video by talking to your phone in ChatGPT. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
They tried. They definitely tried.
And I think there's still time in general, but again, this goes back to my whole conversation and we'll get into it probably in the next story. It's like we are full steam ahead with AI when
Right.
slow down a little
Right.
bit, wait, take some time, but we are
I
full speed
do
ahead.
feel like I'm a I'm gonna put my stand hat on for about 3 seconds
Hmm.
because I do still feel like once they get it right, it's going to be that thing that revolutionizes how we use it all over again.
Hmm.
Like I just gonna take a while. It's gonna, it's gonna be whatever. It's gonna take as long as it's gonna take.
Hmm.
But I do believe Apple still has the capability
mhm.
to get it right and
Hmm.
innovate in a way
Hmm.
that we now, even if that means in partnership possibly with one of these other companies, it's still going to be Apple,
Or
and
you
they're
slow,
still going to figure out a
Yeah.
way to innovate in a way that we haven't seen
yeah,
before.
or they slow roll it. It's just that we don't have the patience. we
Um, and it could
just don't
also be
have the
this:
patience.
if they can, we like that 20 billion that we get a year from Google. If we can figure out how to get,
That too.
if we can get that and just not have to do this to the level that people are wanting it, and we'll just
And
go with
they
that.
might mess around and white label that
Yeah.
joint. You know
So,
what I
Yeah.
mean? You might think
that's
you
what this is here. So I don't know if I think it might still say powered by Gemini or something like that. Potentially Google likes for you to know that you're using Google,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
this would be the story says it is a version of Gemini that would run on Apple servers. So
Mhm.
they would be controlling it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think a couple things happen. I don't think, and Apple's actually admitted this to some extent. They didn't know what AI was going to be because it's not like they just decided, oh, AI is here. We now need to start working on it. They've been working on it. They just didn't know what the generative AI in these bots was going to be because that's not the route that they were going. And I think
Mhm.
what ended up happening is like, whoa. And by the time they figured it out, they were so far behind that they may just simply not be able to catch up.
Because OpenAI was already raising $1 trillion, and it's like, what you gonna do against that? You know?
Seven. Isn't that what isn't that what their CEOs, he had that big meeting with a bunch of folks and was like, so yeah, all we need is $7 trillion. Where y'all want to sign up at? Like 7 trillion with a T. So
Right.
So, Terrance, you alluded to it already, but you threw a couple stories in here. The first one was about a company that fired some people because of AI and then had to turn around and hire them back out. And then the second one is about companies laying off massively because of AI. So tell us what's going on with these firings, rehirings, and layoffs.
Well, it just goes to my ultimate stance that we haven't figured out the thing that AI is going to do for us first, and then figure out all the ways that we support that via changing our lives, changing the way we do our daily lives, the way companies change things. We ain't there yet, but that ain't stopping these companies from trying, right? So the first story I have, like Rob mentioned, the Commonwealth Bank of Australia they, in a sense, laid off 45, 50 of their customer service workers. And we're doing AI. And according to the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, they said they reduced call volumes by upwards of 2,000 calls per week. Then shortly after that, the bank the bank asked the workers that they laid off to come back, saying AI actually wasn't able to do the job, right? And this is a quote from, it looks like, the customers of the bank. The members said that this 2,000 calls per week volume reduction was an outright lie and did not reflect the reality of what was happening in direct banking. This is the union that's brought the lawsuit on, representing people. Call volumes, and in fact, were increasing, and the Commonwealth Bank of Australia was scrambling to manage the situation by offering staff overtime and directing team leaders to answer calls. Could you imagine working as a manager, having to come to these people and say, I'm sorry, we got to let you go,
Right.
let them go? Maybe a month later, your manager comes to you and says, hey, dog, I need you to get on some of these calls.
Because they ain't right. I don't know who I was on the phone with. It was recently though. And I was just like, and I don't even deal with but I literally, I'm pressing 0 right away, or saying customer
Pound,
service,
asterisk, asterisk,
customer
asterisk.
service. Like, I
Human,
don't care. And,
please give me a human.
and I was on the phone with some company, and the bot kept saying, I don't really understand that. Let's see if we can. It just, I mean, when I tell you I was hot, because this thing would not let me get to a human.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you can't fix my problem. Like,
Right.
the choices you're giving me aren't what I need to have done.
Right.
So I need to, and it would only give me these 3 choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, none of those are the thing I need to do. And, eventually I forget how I got to a person, but like literally on the phone with this thing for like 10 solid minutes, 10, 15 minutes, like trying to get it to switch me over, and it just refused to do it. And I was just like, yeah, see, this is why AI is not about to take over the world just yet.
Not yet, not replacing customer service jobs, but like Rob mentioned in the other story, that is not stopping brands like TikTok, who plans on doing exactly the opposite. Well, not the opposite, or going in the same route as the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. TikTok plans to lay off hundreds of more content moderators in an AI push. So basically, what they're doing. Go ahead,
I was going to
Rob.
say, so I should let you finish setting it up, but I feel like this one is different because TikTok didn't want they didn't want the people doing the the reviewing of the content in the first place. They've always wanted to automate that because they make more money when they don't have people doing it.
Right, but it goes to my ultimate point, to where we still want that human interaction in certain things, right? Especially when it comes to our money
Mhm.
and the content we see on social media. We don't want to see bots on social media. We don't want to see fake videos on social media. We want to interact with people, and we want them people to interact back. And the content moderation, if I have a problem with somebody or something somebody said, I want to be able to have a human to look at it and say, hey, this fits or it don't, versus having AI just spit out some stuff, thinking that's what we're looking for. And it sounds like in customer service, of course, moderation is not customer service, but it is in a way. But it's just, there are some things that we're still holding on to human
Well,
interaction.
I hate that AI is taking over content moderation, because it's such an important part
Sure.
of social media use. And, it seems like more often than not, the AI gets that moderation piece wrong. I mean, I come across, like, literally every 4th or 5th video I come across in my feed on TikTok is someone complaining
Mm-hmm.
that my video was taken down. Somebody was talking shit or making
Mm-hmm.
racist threats or whatever
Mm-hmm.
to me, and that video's still up, but my video calling that out got flagged. It always seems like, and that's not by accident. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The platform don't make no money if people ain't angry on
Right.
it
Outrage them.
and
Rage
and
baiting.
outraged and clicking and even
Mhm.
if you're hate watching or hate commenting or whatever, that
Mhm.
still benefits them.
Yeah.
So, I feel like, once you implement these AI tools, and I mean, humans would probably be charged to do the same thing. Like, keep that shit up because it's going to make us some money.
Mhm.
But I think it just gets that much worse. And especially, like I said, we just had the conversation about children on the internet and what kind of content they get access to and things like that. And AI is only going to make that problem worse,
Mhm.
basically. So I
And do it at
hate that.
scale.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And I hate that platforms have decided to move in that direction because the AI is not going to do effective job at
I
all.
don't know who technically should be attributed with this, but there's a saying that AI, at least right now in 2025, the end, it's amazing that we're getting towards the end of the year, but in late 2025, AI isn't going to replace you. It is the people who use AI that are ultimately going to be
Mhm.
able to replace you. And that's probably what is going on here. I do believe, however, and I think Steph, in the previous story, you were kind of going here. Eventually, though, this is going to get it right. It's not there yet, but eventually it will probably get it right, and we'll see a lot more of this. I think one of the things that companies, and maybe this is also part of the case for this bank in Australia, people are really sensitive to AI, and if it's not working, they get upset really, really quickly. So you
Mhm.
could literally put an AI system in place and actually lose a customer more quickly than actually having a person that you have to get to by going through a bunch of prompts, but still a person you ultimately get to. And that's part of it as well. Because I know for me, I have way less tolerance. If I don't think I'm talking to a human, I have no tolerance. I'm
Mm-mm.
not being polite to AI. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. It's like,
They're gonna be coming for you,
American
Rob, when they
Express,
come
you
get
take
you.
care of this for me. I pay you a lot of money to have an American Express. Y'all go handle this for me. I don't want to have to deal with this company's bot to try to figure out how to get my money back. You give it back to me and then let you go do it. And I think that's starting to happen a heck of a lot more, where people just don't have any patience at all if they don't perceive that they're talking to a human and are not. In the case you were trying to get to something that the bot wasn't trying to give you, that's not
But
going
that
to go well for companies in the long run.
but here's my thing though. We are attributing AI to everything, and it's a jack of all trades, master of none situation. If AI was good at customer service, and that's all we attributed AI to, it's like AI is going to revolutionize call centers, customer
Yeah,
service.
everybody will have an AI agent.
And it was that one thing. All of these companies could focus in on making AI better for customer service. That's not what we're doing. We're using AI customers for analytics, and we're using it for customer service, and we're using it for personal assistant, and we're using it for boyfriends and girlfriends, and we're using it to get margarita recipes, and we use it for all these things,
Right.
and it can do none of it perfect the way we need it, because like Rob said, if we have a problem, we got a problem. In this case is with customer service, because we haven't decided what the thing that AI is going to do, and everybody's grasping at straws, and that's how we
Mhm.
get these stories.
So here's where I think differently than you on this, Terrence, because that makes AI a monolith. It makes it very monolithic. It does this one thing. And I think one of the reasons that artificial intelligence is grabbing the world by storm in the last almost 3 years, we still have not been talking about ChatGPT for 3 solid years yet. We're almost there, but we got couple more months to go. I think the thing that is very different is not just one industry that can be addressed by it. It is literally every industry that uses computers can be addressed by it. And there are some areas where AI is extremely effective. It has been being used for years, well before we were talking about LLMs and ChatGPT and Gemini and Anthropic and all these other companies. So that's part of it. The other part of it is that, and where you're absolutely right, is that it just hasn't gotten good enough yet. So we actually will take signals from places where AI is really good at doing the things that it does, and we see success after success after success with it, and then extrapolate that across everything that has AI in the name. Like I said, I think I was eating some cereal this morning and had now with AI on the box, because it's like that's just what people want to hear. AI is the buzzword. And I do believe that AI is the internet at this point. It's like, it is, when the World Wide Web became a thing in the 90s and into the early 2000s, how it just changed how Earth revolved around this axis. I think AI is doing that. but it's doing it in so many different places simultaneously. And we used to attribute that, well, AI is not working here, so AI there must be bad, and AI is working here, so AI in this place must be good. And you can't do that. It literally is different industries with different algorithms, with different machine learning, and these things are doing all kind of different things. But at the end of the day, I believe that they are all getting better. So I'm not on the fence anymore. I do believe that you need to be learning about this, because at some point in a couple of years, and 5 years, you will be using it. If you intend to be gainfully employed in it.
That's only if we're here to enjoy it, because the climate change it creates hasn't destroyed us all anyway.
There's that part.
Dude, that's a thing. It's like I mean that's a huge consideration. I think, in this
Energy consumption.
AI, yeah, this AI
Mhm.
arms race is on, but we just really have not considered I
Mhm.
mean, we're going to have to, I don't know, either go nuclear or go back to fossil
Oh yeah.
fuels, one or the other, and it's going to poison our communities and our water and our air
And
and
we're gonna try
everything
to get
else.
off
And
this planet like Interstellar.
yeah, and yeah, I don't think, I think that's gonna be the limiting factor.
Mhm.
Or
And
at least I hope that's going to be the limiting
it's
factor.
not going to be the limiting factor.
No, it's not going to
It's
be.
going to be
Don't
the
say that.
problem that they solve, and that is going to eventually undo
Yeah,
us.
man, I'm sheesh.
So every week or two, we hear about a company that is working on nuclear, or doing, building a solar farm, or building a wind farm, or doing, ultimately whatever they can do to get the power, because the companies that are behind the AI, they know that here in America, our grid is simply not. It does not.
I
We
don't
don't have a grid that
understand.
exists that allows us to, deliver the power
Mm-mm.
to the data centers that they need for AI of the future. It just doesn't
And that's
exist.
my problem. And that's my problem. These companies are so try this arms race so fast, to where these states that are so power money hungry, that they'll let these tech companies come in, no nothing,
Hmm.
no taxes, no regulation, and just let them
And
do whatever. If these states were
strip the
smart,
land of the resources.
if the states were smart, get something out the deal. We have
Oh,
eroding.
somebody's
Oh,
getting
they
Well,
getting
something.
I
some
mean,
out the
It just
deal.
ain't the people.
yeah, yeah, but I'm saying in general, it's like if your state wants to show that you're welcoming AI and is going to benefit everybody, we know we have eroding infrastructure that AI needs in order to generate power. Have the companies invest however many billion you need in regular infrastructure, and then you can go tax free, and then you can pollute the environment. At least get something out the deal. Daggone, companies are giving up everything and not getting nothing but bad
Yeah,
air.
it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like the states are getting anything out of it, honestly.
Except
They're
bad
getting
air.
sick.
That bad air.
They're
Yeah.
getting sick because they can't
Yeah,
breathe. Like,
that's it.
I think about like Memphis, and
Mhm.
what do a lot of people that live in Memphis look like? Like us. And they're
Well, in
putting these.
South Memphis
Yeah,
where the plant
the plan
is.
is, they're putting it in the
Mhm.
neighborhoods where the folks don't necessarily have the representation to keep those plants from coming there, and people are getting sick from it. It is, what was that movie, Aaron Brockovich? It's like that movie all over again, to where these
Times
companies
a
these
thousand.
companies know what they're doing. So, and Terrance and I think it was one week when you were actually out, Steph, and we were going back and forth on this one, and it's kind of like, the power is necessary. So what's going to happen is that the companies, they're working out plans with nuclear power. Companies that offer nuclear power, they are, yeah, let's
Mhm.
go ahead and build this reactor. We want the power first, but if we build it, you can go ahead and do this stuff that's going to benefit the people of the municipalities that are close nearby. But as long as we're getting what we need, we'll go ahead and fund this first reactor, or what have you. So they're doing it not because they're trying to be altruistic and we need to build our grid up and we need to have more power and this and that and the other. No, we want to make as much money as we can make. We need power to do it, to run these data centers. And because of that, the side effect is that, well, maybe this one municipality now has a nice, as clean as you can be with nuclear power, reactor that is there running, that is providing power to the plant, as well as providing, to the data center, as well as providing power to the town.
Yeah.
I want to see wind turbines. I want to see solar farms. I want to see even like tidal power where, they figured out how you can get a whole lot of energy out of the, the ocean as long as the waves are rolling, which pretty much is always, they never tend to stop. So there's a lot of things that we can do. I just don't know that the federal government has the appetite to do it. And I don't know that the
Yeah,
companies
the
are
will
going
is
to
not
do it
there.
unless they get all
No,
the benefit from it first.
the will is not
Yeah.
there at all.
So, folks, we are at the end of our hour. So we did talk about our founding 50 at the top of the show. And I do want to announce that we did have we can't call him a patron because he's not in Patreon or he's not in Patreon. He says, I don't roll with Patreon, but I like what you guys are doing and wanted to donate to the show. So Ron, and he actually spells his name, capital A, Ron. So that goes back.
Did he get that from Key and Peele?
Key and Peele, but he's of the age to where, it's like he probably had people calling him AA Ron. But yeah, AA Ron threw us a cool $100 to say, hey, I'm not going to become a regular patron because I don't do those subscriptions, but I like what you guys are doing and just wanted to support. So we want, so you get the shout out just as everyone else does. For anyone else who would like to become a patron, you can do so by heading over to the Tech John. That is the techjawn.com/Patreon. And you're going to find multiple tiers over there, any one of which gets you access to our live stream and after party. Steph did the appeal at the beginning. Come hang out with us in the live stream. We're doing this for you to actually hang out with you. We're going to go into an after party here right after, where that is a Patreon exclusive that the regular folks on the open internet don't hear as part of the podcast. But once again, head over to patreon.com/the Tech John if you would like to support the show and help us bring this tech to you the way that we bring it. So with that being said, Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph, or check out my website at stephaniehumphrey.com and sign up for my newsletter.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we're also at the Tech John on all the things. So come holler at us however you holler. Folks, we will not be here next week. Next week is Labor Day. We are actually taking the Labor Day holiday off. So we will not be back here next week. There will be a replay for next week, but we will be back here in 2 weeks. So we'll see you when we see you in a couple of weeks. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.